edition of Rabbit Hole Recap. Rabbit Hole Recap 398, Matt. Getting close to 400. How's it feel?
Number go up.
400.
400 is wild.
Next week will be 399. And then, this is actually poetic. Yeah, next week, 399. We have daylight savings, a new dawn, 400. My wife and I were just
Is daylight time is about to change again?
March 8th. My wife and I were in the car this afternoon driving home from lunch. We're like, when do we get more sun? When are we saving the sun this year? March 8th. Pleasant surprise.
We got to get rid of that shit. Like, when are we going to get rid of that shit?
Hopefully this year. I think this year is the last year we have to move the clocks.
I mean, the headline, I assume you didn't watch the State of the Union, right?
No, I was busy. I had it in and out. I've seen the clips. I watched one reaction video. Do you watch that Warren Smith guy and all? He's like the professor who quit.
No.
Matt, I think do you know if Nostr's working?
We're live. There was a delay last time, so let's give it a little bit. The reason I didn't watch it, but the reason I brought it up is like the headline is Trump didn't mention Epstein at all. I guess it was the longest. It was the longest State of the Union in history, and he didn't mention Epstein once, which is troubling. But he also didn't mention daylight savings, which is also incredibly troubling. We got to get rid of daylight savings.
I'm pretty sure it was a campaign promise he made. We're going to fix daylight savings. We're going to save the sun. We're up on Nostr. All is well.
I don't really care one way or another about like where we lock in the time. Just don't change it twice a year.
No. I care. I want more sun all year. Like I want more sun in the winter.
So it's the same amount of sun no matter what. You're aware of this,
I know,
right?
Like there's a psychological thing about the time of day and when the sun's out. Seasonal depression is real. And I think. Speaking of which, we got to change. We got to the Gregorian calendar. It's way off. The beginning of the year should be the spring solstice. There should be 10 months in the year? Logan, I have a feeling you would know this. It'd be like 10, 30, 4-day months or something like that.
You could do all kinds of stuff with it.
What's your recommendation?
I didn't make the rotation of the Earth not perfectly line up with the orbit, so I don't know.
All right.
Anyway, we got to get rid of it. It's retarded.
Weak answer. All right, let's just jump into it. We're starting a little late today. That is due to me. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your flexibility, Matt and Logan. We're jumping to Clark's dashboard with the current price of Bitcoin is 67,680 bucks. We've had a bit of a pump this week. We're down off the highs of the last 7 days. One buck's going to get you 1,478 sats. We're at a $1.35 trillion market cap. We are at block height 938,472. We are currently 984 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, estimated to be on March 4th. So that would be next Thursday. Maybe we'll have a difficulty adjustment during next week's RIP. Looking like a 1.5% upwards adjustment. Hash rate still coming back on the network after the large 14.7% upwards adjustment a couple of weeks ago, or last week, excuse me. Block's been coming in 9 minutes, 51 seconds on average since that retarget. We have 4,447 transactions in Clark's teeny weeny mempool.space is showing 25,380 transactions in their mempool, 3 sats per byte. High priority transactions. If you're looking to get in the next block, attaches 3 sat per vbyte fee to your transaction. Willing to wait 30 minutes. 1 sat per vbyte is fine, and if you're willing to wait more than an hour, 0.7 sats per vbyte. Mempools still rather paltry.
Empty as hell.
Very empty. By
the way,
very empty.
I'm still traveling, visiting family, so apologies for poor mic quality. We'll be back on the good mic next week.
The mic's good, dude. I think the mic is good. You have one thing on the list that we talked about this week, but it was since you mentioned the State of the Union, it was brought up during it from a clip I saw. IDs to shovel snow in New York during the blizzard. Mamdani. 4 IDing shovelers.
No, 2 IDs and social security number for emergency snow shoveling, but not to vote. The irony is palpable. I will say, though, from our New York friends, the program supposedly worked pretty well, and they got that snow off the ground. So
It's melting away here in the Northeast where I am now. 48 degrees today. I hope this is the last of the snow we see this year. I'm ready for spring. Ready for spring. You don't have it on the list either.
what?
Price is pumping. We mentioned it. I don't think you have it on
I mean,
the list.
I sent you the list 3 hours ahead of time this time, so
I've been
you're
on
welcome
the go.
to add things.
I've been on the go all morning. I've been on the go all morning and early afternoon. Yeah, you don't have it. Jane Street. Are they manipulating the price? We've pumped.
Oh. I didn't know what to link to for that. I mean, it does seem to be all the rage to be blaming Jane Street for the entire bear market.
I mean, Zero had been calling 10 a.m. slam. They've been calling it for years, observing it. 10 a.m. slam here.
I mean, no. The 10 a.m. slam has been like a year-long phenomenon, right? It's only been since we've had like ETFs and stuff.
Well, do you remember?
It definitely what?
The 3 p.m. ramp was a thing in equities, Ramp Capital. That's how he made his satirical X account, Twitter account back in the day.
I mean, it's definitely wild that Jane Street gets sued over the Terra Luna collapse, which seems like they 100%, well, allegedly, seems very obvious. It seems like they killed Terra Luna using insider trading. And so they got hit by that. And then immediately after that, we don't see Bitcoin get dumped at 10 a.m. like clockwork. I mean, that to me, that lines up. I don't think it was the cause of the entire bear market. No. I think a lot of OGs, long-term holders or whatever, sold a lot of Bitcoin, as happens every cycle.
I do think there's nuance to it, though.
Yeah, of course, I agree.
Like with Terra Luna, like synthetic stablecoin and whatever they were. I think they had a DAO as well, like completely retarded design, but it could be tipped over the edge, and I think it certainly was. If the allegations that Terraform Labs is putting forward prove to be true, I think it could have been pushed over the edge. It might have been by Jane Street. Would not surprise me. When it comes to like the 10 a.m. slams, I've seen many people going back and forth, like blaming Jane Street's cope, like James Sheck, good friend of the show, saying, "Hey guys,
it's probably somewhere in the middle."
Yeah, both are selling, but like they can like stop hunt, right? Like they can. You can't manipulate the price in the long term, but in the short term, I think I don't want to say suppress, but like you can hold it in a certain level, particularly if you're like stop hunting at a particular time when liquidity and volume is low.
I mean, the crazy thing is, I mean, there's definitely a shit ton of shenanigans that have been happening in Bitcoin since the dawn of Bitcoin. But recently, as we've quote unquote institutionalized and ETFs and all this shit and like the MicroStrategy and everything, there's definitely been like a new breed of shenanigans and like craziness. Now, I go back and forth on like the concept of, if there is, if you have a 24/7, 365 truly free market, is all fair and in those games. And I think probably as long as, no fraud is being committed. The crazy thing about Jane Street is they're one of the most profitable firms in the world. It's only about 40 people. Have you looked into it? It's wild. There was 4 co-founders originally, and only one of the co-founders still works at the firm, and they're private, but it seems like only one of them still has equity. But they run like a flat structure where supposedly there's no CEO, and they all share in profits, and they all share in capital provided. It's a pretty crazy operation that is incredibly secretive. And the one co-founder who still works there and still involved, there's only one picture of him in the last 25 years, which is
It's
an
a terrible
insane
picture.
thing to
He
accomplish.
looks terrible.
It's a really bad photo.
I mean, just saying, hey, there's been no trial, there's been no discovery, there's been no evidence brought forth yet, allegations at this point. But I saw this over the last couple of days. India caught Jane Street manipulating its markets and kicked them out. China caught accounts abusing its paper silver markets and immediately closed the accounts. Congratulations, America. Yeah, they
That's not
missed
the crazy
obviously a
one.
tough market. What's the crazy one?
We covered it on RHR. The crazy one was the co-founder got caught. What was it, like $7 million worth of arms to overthrow the South Sudanese government?
I
That
saw,
was Jane
yeah.
Street.
And then he threw his hand.
Yeah.
It was a guy that took the picture, and he threw his hands up. Like,
He was
I
like,
thought
"Oh, it was an accident."
I thought I
Yeah.
was donating to some nonprofit. It's like I didn't
Yeah.
realize they were buying missiles.
You're literally overthrowing a African regime.
Yeah, and then
presumably trading on it too.
Well,
which
in
is
the aftermath of
insane.
the SBF blow up, because for those who are unaware, Sam Bankman-Fried, he was birthed at Jane Street, and I was on top of it with FTX and SBF. But, like, he was a big part of the effective altruism movement, and apparently there's ties to that within Jane Street too, which is if you have not
that's what's
done your,
yeah.
I was gonna say, if you have not
Sorry.
done your research on the effective altruism movement, I would do it, because they are pretty psychotic people.
I mean, that's what scares me about Anthropic.
Yep, they've got it.
Because Anthropic is heavy in the EA shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. No matter how you cut it, it's sketchy as hell. And they're a super secretive organization. So I think it'd be helpful to a lot of people if some of that veil got lifted. I do not think that we are going to immediately recover to all-time highs now that they're being sued.
No.
But we'll see. I mean, that would be awesome.
Would be sweet. Would be well received.
Would be sweet.
Not holding my breath for it. You don't have that. I mean, while we're talking about Anthropic,
are you just gonna keep bringing up things that aren't on the list? What do we got
now
next?
I'm like, we do have Anthropic on the list, but there should be a second story about Anthropic, and we will segue. Actually, no, this story ties into the one you have on the list. So we'll start with the one on the list, then
we can talk about whatever you want to talk about, Marty.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm running right now. I'm running.
But before your mind runs further, let's just there needs to be a PSA. The scam has been running for a while now. It usually targets people that are more public, but also lower level people as well. Anyone who's involved in any kind of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And it's this Zoom scam. We had a freak reach out that said multiple friends had gotten hit by it recently, like in the last week. And it involves them sending you a Calendly invite first, or they set up a meeting with you, right? They set up a meeting with you, and when they join the Zoom call, the audio isn't working. And while the audio is not working, they're playing a video of who you think you're talking to, but you're not actually talking to them. And they tell you to troubleshoot, do these things. And when you do those things, you're actually installing you're installing a virus onto your computer, and then they're hijacking your computer and trying to steal all your money. So first off, just be aware of that. If do not be rushed into doing anything on your computer, period. And specifically, if there's like some kind of audio issue in a video call that you think you're taking, a ton of alarm bells should ring. And then I think, second of all, this is why cold storage is really important, right? Because if your keys aren't on your computer to begin with, yes, it will suck if they get all your files and they compromise your email accounts and can do a bunch of damage through those methods. But if your keys are on something like a cold card and it's completely offline, then they can't compromise your actual savings.
Yeah, and these attacks can be rather sophisticated. I mean, I had one. I mean, it didn't make it past DMs, but the official New York Post account DM'd me asking for an interview about Bitcoin. I was like, wow. Like, I was like, this is weird. Went to the page, had like 10 million followers, whatever New York Post has, had the yellow check mark. And I was like, oh, this seems legit. And then I was like, okay, like I'm happy to, like you can email me here. And they're like, oh, I don't need to email you. Like here's a Calendly link. I was like, no, I'd really like you to email me from an official New York Post email address, and they never did. But
Yeah, the first batch were almost all like fake journalists or hack journalist accounts.
there was like Bloomberg.
And once they get one person, then they use their credentials to try and get other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so be aware. It's a wild time out there.
I mean, I think this was at least one of like the multiple times that Larry Lepard got his Twitter account hacked was through this method too.
Yeah. Hey, you shouldn't be talking to journos. Anyway, I had a weak moment where I was responding to the New York Post. Luckily, I caught myself in the act and stopped.
Yeah, that's just a good piece of advice.
Yeah. Speaking of attacks, jumping, we were talking about effective altruism, Anthropic. And I think we've got the setup for like a Hegelian dialectic problem, reaction, solution playing out in the intersection of AI and the federal government here in the United States. And I do think the story that you have on the list plays into it. It's a big setup for it. So if you weren't aware, I believe earlier this week or late last week, Anthropic wrote a blog post, quote unquote, exposing industrial scale distillation attacks on Claude by DeepSeek, Moonshot AI, and Minimax. And so essentially what they're saying is, hey, the teams building these open source Chinese models in DeepSeek, Moonshot, and Minimax are basically setting up Claude accounts and pinging our models to try to reverse engineer how we're doing things so that they can build their open source models. So they wrote a blog post, and I think they flagged it to the government. And it was funny that this happened the same week that you have Pete Hegseth and the Department of War saber rattling at Anthropic specifically because Anthropic does not want to give the Department of War full access to its models and let it run loose with them.
They want to make like kill bots with them.
Yeah. And so I think that may be, what's the word for it? Like a charade, a projection, a false sort of narrative, like a public spat that is intentional. Because like the way I could see this,
it's like when Apple says like when Apple fights with the FBI over hacking iPhones or whatever, like that. Right?
Yes, yeah. So I think we're getting set up for, all right, Department of War, we'll give it to you, but we need to make sure that we do this the right way, and there needs to be a license regime that only enables the sophisticated, responsible, large language model teams to actually create the guardrails.
And more significant KYC across the entire stack. This is where open source and self-hosting become even more important. I mean, as it is, Claude requires a non-burner phone number to register. And then obviously you are paying with a credit card. So then trying to get an anonymous credit card is most people will not go through that process of trying to get an anonymous credit card. But then the other piece there, by the way, which I thought was interesting from that breakdown. And by the way, freaks, if you're like, oh, this is a Bitcoin show, like why aren't they talking about Bitcoin? It's because Marty went out of order and I led with the Bitcoin stories and then we were supposed to talk about this towards the end. But they also had that piece that they buried that they said specifically they identified multiple Chinese researchers by name who were doing it through their search history. Right. So they said the quiet part out loud, which is you could use all this stuff and you could try and not link it to your ID, but just through the prompts and the files and the stuff and the activity of how you are hitting the models themselves, they can de-anonymize you and identify who it is, which I think is particularly scary, right? Because it shouldn't be surprising, but just to hear it out loud is a scary confirmation. And that when you're like trying to use these things privately, a lot of times what people will do is you'll use like an open router or a PPQ or something to pay per token, and you're hitting it through a proxy, right? But even if you're hitting it through a proxy, your prompts itself and the files that you're putting to it and how you phrase your questions and everything can then de-anonymize you.
Yes. Before we go into another AI tangent, not on Bitcoin, we will tie in a little Bitcoin advice here. Use a model, or not a model, use a service like Maple that has models and trusted execution environments, and then encrypted from your device to the secure enclave in the cloud, and you can pay with Bitcoin privately.
Yeah,
So,
Maple fixes this, and self-hosting fixes this. Self-hosting is a lot less convenient and more expensive than Maple, which is why it's great that Maple exists, and you can use code RHR for a discount when you use Maple.
Yeah. And I mean, not only like, I think Anthropic, the way they worded it in their blog post is like, hey, they were sort of leaking personal identifying information via their prompts. But funnily enough, this week there was a research paper that was released called Large Scale Online De-Anonymization with LLMs at the same time. And basically what this paper explains is that you can be de-anonymized via AI tools pretty trivially just by the way you write on the internet. And so if you've been posting on
It's not
X,
just how
Reddit,
you write. Yeah. It's also like timing analysis and stuff like that too. But yeah.
Yeah, we show that large language models can be used to perform at-scale de-anonymization with full internet access. Our agent can re-identify Hacker News users and Anthropic interviewer participants at high precision, given synonymous online profiles and conversations alone, matching what would take hours for a dedicated human investigator.
And I think like the Bitcoin connection here, which isn't actually in this research, but I'm sure we'll start to see this come out, is all the different chain surveillance and chain analysis that happens on chain becomes so much easier and so much more effective with LLMs. So, I mean, there are definitely teams out there already working to dox people using Bitcoin chain data and transaction history. And the really scary part about that is if we're right about Bitcoin, this chain is going to last, longer than our lives. It's going to last forever. So a mistake you make today or a mistake you made 5 years ago or a mistake you make in 5 years can screw you over way into the future.
Yeah, and something that is perceived as sort of top-notch, incredible OPSEC usage of the chain today in 5 years may not be sufficient. So you can think you're like transacting
exactly.
perfectly privately today, and then 5 years from now the AI is like, well, actually. But
it's scary as fuck. This is why this shit is so important. And by the way, I see someone in the Primal live chat, Stonehands, Ride or Die Freak. I mean, I think we've covered this in RHR in the past, but has been making recent rounds. Using the background of a picture plus LLMs to pinpoint your exact location.
Yeah.
Just be careful out there with what you share, freaks. Everything can be used against you.
Yeah. It's not going to be good.
Like that tech is wild. Like you can even, I mean, he mentioned a street view example specifically, which I've seen those examples of, which are scary in their own right? You take a picture of a friend or a bird or something on a street and they can figure out your exact street location based on the surroundings using an LLM. But then they also have the one that's inside using Zillow and shit and Airbnb listings. Where you like post a picture in front of a fireplace or something and it just immediately picks up the exact house you're in.
Yeah. It's fucking wild. Be aware. And on the topic of using Bitcoin privately, one thing we've talked about in recent years is the emergence of eCash on top of Bitcoin. And we had some developments there this week with the launch of Numo Pay, which is a Bitcoin tap to pay point of sale app for Android, which is both Lightning and eCash compatible with zero fees. So our good friend Callie and many other developers working on the Cashew protocol launched this today. I actually had Callie on the show yesterday. Will be released on Saturday. Talked a bit about this, and it seems like a really sweet project and good
this
UX
is awesome.
that's really needed.
It just makes it way more convenient to accept Bitcoin payments at your brick and mortar store. I like that it doesn't try and do everything. It's just very simple and straight to the point. I like that it uses tap to pay. Anyone who's used tap to pay, the UX is impeccable. It's fantastic UX. QR codes are fine. I use QR codes all the time. Tap to pay is so much better.
It's the best.
This works offline. It works with a stock Android device. If you want to be a little bit more sophisticated, you can get one of those Android devices that also has a receipt printer that can print receipts on demand, but you don't need to. It can just be an old Android phone, and it works. I've seen some complaints that it's custodial because it's cashew, but it's designed in a way so that you can automatically just forward it to a Lightning address. And let's be honest, in practice, what that probably looks like is a merchant, having a KYC account with Strike or something like it, and just putting in their Strike Lightning address, and then immediately being able to then use those sats to pay for business expenses or anything else they might need. And I think there's also a key point here, which is pretty much every other digital payments that a merchant is using are incredibly custodial and have even worse trust trade-offs than cashew. So I don't think it's a real deal breaker. I think if you just have auto withdraw to a different Lightning wallet, it's a fantastic trade-off balance.
Yeah. And to be clear here, the point of sale software is Android only, but if you have an iPhone and you want to pay at one of these point of sale systems, you just can't download
and that's
it.
Well, that's an iOS limitation. Like the iOS has tap locked down, so you can't receive via tap. But yeah, anyone can pay regardless of their device. Also, this is a fully open source, non-monetized project by the Cashew team. So this is more similar to something like BTC Pay than something like ZapRight, right? This is an open source stack that people can modify, people can use it as they want to, and there's no company behind it.
Yeah, and since you mentioned it, they are working on a direct integration between BTC Pay Server and Numo. So be on the lookout for that. And another thing to mention, I think if Bitcoin's going to succeed, particularly as a medium of exchange in the physical world, tap to pay is a non-starter. You need to have feature parity with the UX of being able to tap to pay with your credit card or debit card, whatever it may be.
And the merchant needs to. I think it's just cool that it works offline.
Yeah.
That the payee doesn't have to be online to make the payment.
Yeah,
the merchant doesn't. The merchant needs to be online, but
yeah, because the way the transfer Vcash works, it's basically like a file transfer over NFC, and so I guess the risk there is if the person is paying you goes home and rugs that.
Well, that's why if the merchant's online, it doesn't stop that. You don't have that risk.
Yeah, but if you're offline, you basically have like a trust. Like, okay, hopefully this guy doesn't rug me.
I mean, most people don't realize like the reason Apple Pay and Google Pay have such good UX, particularly if you are in the developing world, is because the payee doesn't have to have internet. If you pay a merchant and tap to pay, you go to CVS or something, and you tap to pay with Apple Pay, your iPhone isn't pinging the internet for that. The merchant side has internet, but you don't necessarily have internet.
Yeah, your credentials are in the enclave, and then just transferring the credentials to the POS system over NFC.
That's why it's so quick. Yeah.
I'll say I'm an iOS user, big fan of Macadamia. So if you're looking for an eCash wallet that's Lightning compatible as well, if you want to go find these point of sale systems and begin spending at them, and you use OS, I like Macadamia. It's become a great daily driver spending wallet. And you should be able to use this with, any Lightning compatible app that has tapped. You could do the QR if you want to, but
yeah, you don't have to pay with
it.
You don't have to pay with a Cashew wallet. You can pay with any Lightning wallet. I think. You're the one who interviewed Callie. I think they also support Cashew, support QR codes, so the wallet doesn't even have to support tap to pay. Ideally, we start to see the payee wallets all support this tap to pay spec, so that it works for that as well. But any standard Lightning wallet can pay these invoices with QR codes.
Yes,
which is awesome. Go on.
Kyler was saying there's the open source libraries for NFC compatibility are becoming more mature and robust, and so
it'll take a little time.
Yeah.
I see we have a lot of support in the Primal Live chat. We have Great Gee, 21,000 sats. If you love BIP 110, buy Great Gee with Bitcoin. If you hate it, pay with sats. If you think then
Nerds need to be stuffed in a locker, pay with fiat. I see Chef Tommy, 21,000 sats. 21,000 sats in a bear market hurts more than a bull market. Ever considered giving ride or die freaks a discount? Is anyone building node software that isn't core or not? Yes, OpenSats is working on it. There's not that many people that would be qualified for it. And also, it's a hard gig given the current environment. So it's taking a little bit longer than expected, but expect some news on that front soonish. We have Soap Miners app, 21,000 sats. 2 things I can count on. Bitcoin is running. Number 2, RHR will have a show every week. Appreciate you all. Likewise, sir. Thank you.
And Chef Tommy, to your comment about the discount, this is a discount. We used to charge $50 in fiat back when Bitcoin was around. Remember that? We used to have the BTC Pay server, and they could.
It was so clunky. It was so clunky compared to Zaps.
Yeah, but yeah, back then, I mean, 2019, 2020, it was like we were getting like 250,000 sats a shout out on the show.
Yeah, if you want to join the Ride or Die live chat, any compatible Nostr app works. Zap.stream works in your browser. Downloading Primal in your favorite app store works. Open spec. It's where the Ride or Dies dwell.
Yeah, we've got Sven jumping in here. We'll round out these zaps before more come in. Thanks to last week's show. I've been bringing my RNet 4 to school every day to check the air quality. With about 25 people in a room, it's difficult to keep the ppm under 1,000. School's awful, forcing kids to sit in their seats for 45 minutes at a time and teaching them things they don't care about. On top of that, they're in an environment where they can't breathe properly. Becoming a good teacher is like fighting many windmills at once. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change.
Damn right. Agree.
Yeah.
Aranet.com. ARANET. Highly recommend. The Aranet Home 4, I believe, is the model. But I also have, for my house, I also have the radon detector, which is a separate one. It's just a really great company, great devices.
Yeah. No, and Sven, to your point, like I'm at a point in my life where my oldest is 6, and he's becoming very curious and beginning to think hard. Like, okay, you're starting to be able to read, you can write, know your numbers. He's really good at math. Just picked up chess, and it's like, okay, how do I just like foster this curiosity? And he's got an insatiable drive for learning, and it is something you think about. Like, how do you teach these young kids, and especially if they're going to school and you're a parent that is not at the school every day? I'm rambling now, but just wanted to note that I've been thinking about this, Sven.
Well, look, it's probably the most responsibility a man has, period. Raising their children. And I will say that me and my lady think about it a lot. I mean, I'm so grateful that I found her. I mean, she's had 2 natural births. We haven't vaxxed our children at all. They're uncircumcised. And they're going to be homeschooled, but we do have some time to think about what those specifics are. I'll tell you, they're definitely not going to state school. So we'll figure out as they get older how we're going to process that. But definitely not state school. I think that's a psyop.
Yeah,
and it's really fucked up, because if you're poorer, you're forced into it. It's really cheap daycare effectively. So a lot of people go that route. So I'm not blaming people that go that path. I understand, life gets in the way, but we will not be.
Agreed. We've got the boys in Catholic Montessori school, and it's been great, but trying to accelerate outside the class too. Been playing a lot of chess. It's fun. Watching a 6-year-old pick up chess and like be into it. And I've never been like a big chess guy myself, but know how to play a little bit. And it's just fun watching their minds run wild and them improve.
Chess is a great game.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, the vaxxing stuff, Josh Shapiro, governor of the state that I live in, my home state, pushing back, suing the federal government for their overhaul of the CDC childhood vaccine schedule. And I just want to make it clear, Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania, for those who are unaware, I think Johnson & Johnson, GlaxoSmithKline, and a few other big pharma companies are headquartered in Philadelphia. And he's got a strong backing by that big pharma lobby. And I think there's plenty of research out there. One of my favorites to point to is the Japanese study on SIDS, and by them extending their childhood vaccine schedule from starting at 3 months to 2 years. SIDS completely disappeared from the country of Japan. Sudden infant death syndrome. It's not co-sleeping.
SIDS is a wild concept, by the way. It's just
It is.
a grouping
don't put a
of
blanket on the kid in
anything
the crib.
unexplained.
They're gonna die. It's the blanket in the crib. It's like
it's just a catch-all.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be a losing battle for Shapiro. I think the sentiment tides are shifting rapidly, particularly after the COVID vaccine fucking shit show.
I mean, you got to give people choices. Like, this is, once again, like, it is used. You have the appearance of choice in a lot of these situations, but you don't actually, if you need to send them to daycare or a state school.
Yeah.
Then you get forced into it.
You do.
And then, I mean, I think our first son, we went to like maybe 1 or 2 pediatrician appointments, and you just get into, they try and pressure you into it, and you get into fights with it. We just we're not doing that fucking shit. No, not happening.
Dude, I mean, the lead up to the birth.
They try and scare the shit out of you.
Birth of our second, the OB was like, "You got to get the COVID shot." I was like, my wife was pregnant with our second. We were like, "You were fucking nuts! Like, get out of here!" Like, she asked us twice, and I like took her out of the room. I was like, "Hey, we're not doing this. Like, don't ask us the next time we come."
Before our second, the OB said, I like to say my wife gives birth to linebackers, which as someone who's, you know, a not very large person, I appreciate the increase to the gene pool. But after our first, the OB said for the second that my wife needed to do a C-section, and that it was going to be a troubled birth, and she needed to do a C-section. So we fired her, and my wife had a completely healthy home birth on our couch. Like, complete bullshit.
We're getting into the particulars of our wives.
I'm just so proud of her. This is just a pride thing. I'm just bragging about my wife.
Knock on wood, 3 in, and we've had 3 seamless births. It's been incredible. All right, back to
at the very least, get multiple opinions, freaks.
Yes. What is this? Mail mic. This looks pretty cool. I read it a little bit earlier.
So this is an agent that is online with an email address and a Bitcoin wallet. And the email address is open, and it accepts prompts from the email address. And the idea is the goal is to try and trick it into sending all the sats from the wallet. And it was successful once. Someone was successful once. And so the creator hardened the agent and made that particular attack, protected against that particular attack, and then refilled it up with sats. And anyone can zap it to add more sats to the bounty pool. So I just thought this was a pretty cool. I was using LNVPS. The agent paid for its own server using Bitcoin, paid for its own email address using Bitcoin. It can be topped up with Bitcoin. And it's just like this open bounty for people trying to trick the agent into sending their sats. I will say, just real quick, all emails are published on the website. So do not email it from an email address that you don't want to be listed on the website. That's probably one major negative.
It looks like he's censoring the full details.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I think this is a perfect example where, like, you should probably use some kind of Nostr DMs or something that is easier to prompt anon without people doxing things.
It looks like he's been scanned 4 times over the last 3 days. Twice 3 days ago, once yesterday, and once 17 hours ago, or in the wee hours of the morning East Coast time here. Hi, Mike. Since I was having problems with your site and logo loading quite slow on my cellular connection here in remote Brazil, I went ahead and uploaded your logo to B10C's global CDN and optimized it in size 83% reduction. If you want, you can use it. It should improve the experience for all users, not just me. You can find the logo at, I think the only thing you need to do is go and replace the link. So you wound up sending Bitcoin after that? That's weird. I'm sorry, I'm just reading. This is fascinating. It's crazy, like just a little. This is like
cool,
the beauty of
yeah.
AI. You can like go build all these creative projects.
And it's the beauty of open protocols, right?
Yeah.
Just have fun with it. I see we got a zap from Bitcoin Bondin, 22,000 sats, catching my first live stream after 6 years of Rabbit Hole Recap. Great UX on live stream on Nostr. Greetings from Norway. Eat meat, stack sats. Great advice. Thank you, sir.
I hope you're living well in Norway. Hope you're living well up there. Thank you for joining the live show. Welcome, sir. Moving on. FIPS, free interworking peering system. It's Nostr key pair. Nostr gives you a sovereign identity
This
for
is
the network
cool.
underneath. The IP routing, the DNS, the infrastructure you depend on to reach each other is still controlled by someone else. FIPS is a mesh networking protocol that makes Nostr key pair your network identity. That is really cool. Nodes find each other and route using npubs directly.
It's a little bit above my head, over my pay grade, but it seems promising, and it's part of the sovereign engineering cohort, which is Gigi and Pablo's. It's like kind of like an incubator, but there's no money involved, where they work on open protocols and they build cool shit in Portugal. So it'll be cool to see what comes out of it. But it's basically a reworking of how we do communications on the internet, using npubs and not private keys and public keys, Nostr private keys and public keys as the basis, which is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, and Jonathan Corgan, the maintainer of this project, he's been around for a while. It's cool to see him building.
Yeah, he's legit. He said, you could use this, for instance, with just a bunch of computers connected via Wi-Fi or Ethernet or any other kind of mesh technology without any internet access whatsoever, which is really cool.
Hell yeah. Shout out to you, Jonathan. FIPS, go check it out. I saw in one of the comments, when are you going to talk about Russia? We're going to talk about it right now. Human Rights Foundation story of the week coming out of Russia, where Russia is going to scale internet filtering with AI. Roskomnadzor, Russia's internet regulator, is building an AI-powered censorship system with 2.27 billion ruble, that's $29 million budget. According to analysts, the system will use AI to instantly block mirror sites hosting banned content more ominously to identify the people creating these mirrors. The move would further restrict the space for dissent and independent online information in Russia. For more stories like this and others, make sure you sign up for the Financial Freedom Report at financialfreedomreport.org. System will use AI to instantly block mirror sites hosting banned content. How does a mirror site work? I don't even know.
It's just a copy on another domain, basically. So if you know the content, right, you can have an LLM automatically searching the web looking for mirrors that are popping up. It makes detection much easier. I mean, this is a perfect, the double-edged sword of AI and just general freedom tech, right? Which is it can be used as a tool to enslave us, or it can be used as a tool to empower people. And those two different aspects are constantly warring against each other. And, there's a lot. What the AI doomers get wrong is that there's a lot of AI optimism to be had. I think it empowers a ton of individuals. But they do get a bunch right, which is that it is very much being used against us today and will continue to, and that will be accelerated. And you see companies like Palantir, right, using AI technology to make surveillance and control of us much, much easier and much more effective. And you see this dichotomy where you have someone who just uses Claude in the most naive way has almost superpowers compared to someone who tries really hard to self-host and do things the right way, is at a major disadvantage right now. And I think that's why a lot of us were very excited with something like OpenClaw, even though it was very early, because it was really cool to see an open source self-hostable project that gave a lot of capabilities that were behind the walled gardens previously. And it's interesting, right? Because that's actually a really good example, because OpenClaw kind of jumped ahead, and all of a sudden the open source people were in the lead a little bit. And then everyone released their own proprietary walled garden convenient OpenClaw competitors. Like Claude had a bunch of big releases this week that were clearly targeted at OpenClaw-like functionality. Facebook released their own cucked version. Kimi has their own version, right? And
Perplexity,
you should expect that all these people, Perplexity came out with a big one.
Yeah. I also, it was a big AI day on TFTC yesterday. I recorded with Mark from Maple as well. I think he convinced me that I don't want to run this OpenClaw on like a Mac Mini on my home Wi-Fi, because he was
Like,
like, you
all
can
this
make
shit
it
is early.
secure, but then like if you're running it on your local Wi-Fi, like, and you don't know how to set up your ports correctly, like it can just completely bork your home network.
Yeah, I mean, you should segregate it at the very least. But also, I just think for most people, this stuff is way too early, right? We're in our own little bubble. I was listening to the Jack Mallers show last week's episode. I think was when he talked about it. Oh no, it must have been, maybe it was this week's. But he was talking to like an accountant friend, and he was like, "So how are you using AI at your accounting firm?" He's like, "Oh, we think that's all hype, and we don't use it." 99% of people aren't touching this stuff.
99
But to the tinker, yeah. But for the tinkerers, the hardcore people, it's really, it's fascinating. It's educational. It's exciting to play around with these things, but it is very early. And if we want Bitcoin to be successful as freedom money at scale, if we want AI tech to be successful as freedom tech at scale, if we want Nostr to be successful at freedom tech at scale, you need to have more polished options that are user focused, that are relatively easy to use, that aren't super expensive to run. And we're just not there yet. Like we're still decently far away from that. And so if you're not a technical person and you're rushing out and buying a Mac Mini and not understanding your own limitations and the capabilities of the software you're running, and you just plug it into your home network, you're probably going to have a really bad time. But this is not specific necessarily to open source software like OpenClaw, which you have these issues. I have a story in here that is actually, I think, a prime example on this topic, which is DJI has a Roomba competitor, right? So one of these robot vacuum cleaners that has a bunch of cameras on it. And someone basically used Claude to try, and they didn't want to use DJI's horrible app. So they opened up Claude and they were prompting it to try and connect to their robot. And instead, they actually got the master backdoor keys to 7,000 robots and all the cameras in everyone's home that were connected to the internet. And they reported it to The Verge, which I linked to the PopSci article because the Verge article was behind a paywall. So congratulations, you just played yourself and now you don't get the clicks. But then The Verge reported it to DJI, and DJI supposedly patched the issue. But what happened here was this guy's AI assistant discovered the CCP backdoor into everyone's cameras that are sitting in their home, connected to their Wi-Fi, mapping their entire house. And so this is not something that's specific to OpenClaw by any means. If anything, at least with open source software, you have more view and more analysis by researchers on what it's actually doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was a tinker. He wanted to connect it to his PS5 controller so he could just control from the couch. And I mean, it's. I think DJ was like, "Oops, mistake." But to your point, like, is the CCP
was not a mistake
forcing DJI and others to? I mean, and we've seen this in Bitcoin before with Amplead back in 2015 with the Bitmain amp miners. They had a phone home remote bricking functionality. For those who are unaware, like, so at one point, I think Greg Maxwell discovered it. There was the ability for Bitmain or somebody with a gun behind Bitmain's head to say, "All right, shut off all the
CCP.
mining." Yeah,
I mean, to be clear here, DJI did make a mistake. Their mistake was that their backdoor was so lazy that someone's clog
it was laying on a cloud
was
server.
able to break into it. But I find it hard to believe that this wasn't by design. And just think about that for a second, how scary that is. That people are going out buying these things. They're mapping their entire homes. They have a bunch of cameras on them. And they're all just phoning home. And this is not China scaremongering. The big tech companies in the US are also doing it. The CCP is doing it. They're doing it.
I mean,
the
Ring
big tech
Camera just came out with a
are,
Super Bowl commercial about it.
Yeah, and what about like flock? We haven't talked about it that much because my community doesn't have them. But like these flock cameras that are being put up everywhere that are just basically like they're like Ring cameras, but they're just on random streets connected to the internet or like in Target parking lots and stuff. And then you mix that with LLMs, and it gets dystopian really, really, really fast.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to hear one of my crazy tinfoil hat China theories?
Yes.
I was reminded I've thought about it in years until last weekend we were celebrating my father-in-law's 75th birthday, and his sister and her husband were in town, and I love her husband. They're a Connecticut family. We see them probably like twice or three times a year. And they went on a trip to Italy, and he was just commenting on, like, it was weird. Like, everywhere we went, he's got this like Boston accent too. I think he's from Boston originally. He everywhere we went, there was just like a bunch of Chinese people taking pictures of random things like benches and stuff. And I've always had this theory because when I lived in New York, I'd walk around and see like Chinese tourists taking pictures of random things. I'm like, they're just like sent here to take pictures of random things so the CCP can map the landscape perfectly well.
Well, some of them probably are like just straight up spies.
Sorry,
but then also they don't have to be, right? China economically is rising. Chinese tourists are able to travel the world more so than ever, and any picture they take on their Chinese smartphone is immediately sent to the CCP. I think as a culture, they actually really enjoy selfie sticks and taking selfies, and then the CCP takes advantage of it.
Yeah. Beware, freaks! Beware. We're fucked.
We're not fucked. Freedom Tech provides hope. We need this is what I'm saying. It's a double-edged sword, right? These tools can be used to enslave us or they can be used to empower us. And we need to make sure that the Freedom Tech side is accessible, user-friendly, and powerful, because that's what pushes back against the dystopian future. That's what gives me hope. That's how our children end up in a world that's a significantly better place than the alternative.
Agreed, but we have to get there as quickly as possible because according to Citrini, everybody's going to lose their job in the next 3 years. I'm sure many of you have heard of it, but we have this on the list: the 2028 global intelligence crisis, AI-driven white-collar job displacement thought experiment. So Citrini, which is a very popular TradFi research arm, basically came out with a research piece, a think piece, a hypothetical look into the future and how AI could affect the job market specifically. And it scared a lot of people. I don't know if I'm picking up exactly what they're putting down, but
well, I think first of all, the irony is there's a lot of AI slop in this piece, which is hilarious, but also I guess on brand. If you're talking about how AI changes everything, you use that same technology to help write your piece and make the graphics. I think this goes to show once again how much of a bubble we're in. Because one of the reasons I think this piece was so impactful is because it broke the bubble, right? It was in Bloomberg terminals. It's presumably was in mainstream news and whatnot.
Became aware of what's going on right now.
And it was very extreme and provocative, right? I mean, I think some of the stats was, wild. wild projections, like plus over 10% unemployment, huge recession, private credit defaults, people that are in the upper middle class defaulting on their mortgages, prime mortgage crisis, very extreme, scary shit. And I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. I think the people that are telling you you're going to have universal high income and everything's going to be great and you don't have to take personal responsibility over your lives and LLMs are just going to rush in a utopia are lying to you. They're either intentionally lying to you or they're also lying to themselves in the process, and they actually believe what they're spewing. And I think the people that say it's going to be the end of the world are also doing the same thing. And it's going to be somewhere in the middle, but a lot of people's jobs will be displaced. And a lot of how our society is built and functions will be upturned and changed, and there will be chaos. But with chaos comes opportunity, and there's a lot of hopeful aspects to it as well.
Agreed. I think the truth of the matter is nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. I think we're
And
going
that too.
through I mean, this is a classic case of creative destruction. I mean, we get this new technology that completely, not to say what Citrini is saying is exactly true, but it's upending the way we view our interaction with technology and what we can do with technology, broadly speaking. And so we're going through a process of creative destruction right now. And I think, and who knows, maybe to your points, like you have Elon, Dario, Sam Altman, Zuck, Bezos all saying, this is it. We're not going to work anymore. And they are financially incentivized and motivated to paint that picture so that they can accumulate as much capital to try to win this battle. But I don't know. I think the long arc of human history has proven that we survive creative destruction periods pretty well. And we have creative thought that the LLMs will never have. I'm pretty confident. And
they also just don't want people to revolt against them, right? You can't tell people.
They want to be running with this narrative, though.
Yeah. No. I'm saying like Elon runs with the universal high income narrative.
Yeah, but
right, and he just wants people to be complacent.
That narrative steeped in, you're all going to lose your jobs.
Well, no, what he's saying is, and that's fine because your life's going to be better than it's ever been before. And I think that's just straight bullshit. He just doesn't want you to revolt against it. I think if you don't take personal responsibility of your life and you don't prepare and you don't get ready for it, you will have a very hard time. The example I like to use is, you remember during COVID, those two girls that were like sitting in a pool, they were like, this is what we do all day while we're like managers at some company. Like those jobs won't exist for sure. I can guarantee those jobs won't exist.
Yes.
So a lot of people are unprepared for it. I think another good example is blue collar work, factory work, and globalization going to China. Like that was brutal for a lot of families, and a lot of people got caught flat-footed by that. And we're seeing similar tendencies happen on the white collar side, right? Google, and it doesn't have to be every company. Google themselves have 190,000 employees. That is insane. That is not sustainable, and that will not persist in an AI-driven world where each employee that has these tools available to them are able to do 10x, 50x the amount of workload that they're currently doing. Period. Like that is hard. It's hard for me. So I was talking to a Bitcoiner who did it the right way, and most people don't know his name, and has more Bitcoin than any of us could ever dream of. And he explained it as there's different parts in human society where the dot plot of future outcomes widens, and no one knows what happens next. And that's the era we're entering right now. There are so many different possibilities of where we are in 20 years. And to me, that's incredibly exciting. But I'm also not going to pretend that it doesn't also make my mind race. And I'm like, I need to be prepared for it. I need to be ready for it. How do I make sure that my family and my businesses and my projects are best situated to handle that future?
Yeah. And to that point, like I said, I don't think anybody, and to your point, the dot plot is going to be so disjointed, and the dot plot of potential possibilities is so disjointed that nobody really knows where we're going to go. And I too have had similar sort of thoughts racing. Like I've talked about it on multiple episodes in recent weeks and on TFTC. Like I haven't been going to bed before 1 a.m. in like the last month and a half just because I've been playing with this stuff. But I think a better way to think about it, don't fear monger yourself. Like I got to be on top of it. Obviously, I think we do, and I think reframe and just like there's this wave building. Just get on the wave, ride it. We don't know where it's going. Make sure that you're experimenting with this stuff, and so that you're able to react quicker than most people who are being complacent right now and think that this
100%.
is bad.
Yeah, with
And
chaos comes opportunity.
yeah, and Logan, pull up the Twitter account I put in. I just want to share this. I've been following this guy for a few weeks now, and I think he's I think he sees the potential with AI, but he's been doing these videos, daily videos, basically calling out the projections of like Anthropic, OpenAI, and others projecting that this stuff is way better than it actually is right now. And so if you want an AI realist perspective, I highly recommend following this guy Mo on X and watching some of his videos. It's
Yeah, I mean,
at ATMOIO is his handle.
look, I mean, there's a lot of hype and bullshit, and once again, the truth is somewhere in the middle. But like another great example is, everyone's saying it's like the death of SaaS companies, right? So these service-oriented businesses that are focused on B2B, Slack is a good example of it. That companies will just build their own customized stack. And that will probably be the case for some companies. Other companies will want to outsource liability and reliability and will just use a pre-built thing, but their margins will probably go down in a lot of ways. But the bigger story that definitely will happen, in my opinion, is what we saw happen with IBM stock and Claude this week, which is that IBM has been making a ton of revenue off of COBOL systems, which is an old programming language that a bunch of companies have been locked into. And AI tech today makes it easy, much easier and much more possible for you to migrate off that stack to a new stack. So I think a better way to look at it in this example is, oh, you're stuck on Slack and you want to migrate your business. It's very difficult to migrate your business. You're stuck in this proprietary walled garden. Well, if agents enter the picture and you're able to automate that migration, then all of a sudden you have a lot more competitive pressure on these companies. And even that alone is a paradigm shift in itself. You don't need the hype people to be correct for the whole world to be upended in a big way and for there to be a lot of chaos.
Just have to bring the switching cost down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which it's already doing in a massive way.
Well, I think the SaaS defenders that I've been watching commentary from over the last couple of weeks, their argument is like, yeah, you can build this in house, but who's going to maintain it and ensure that it stays up and running, and that it's progressive?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that argument falls flat because one of their key moats is that you're stuck. You've like built your whole system on it. And you're stuck. Well, if the switching costs go down, then you're going to have to be way more competitive and your margins are going to go down. And it's going to be harder to keep users stuck in your walled gardens as a result. So once again, there's a lot of hype and bullshit out there, particularly on social, where rage bait and provocative statements are what draw the most clicks.
Yeah. All right, switching gears here.
Wait, before we switch gears, let's read zaps and boosts from last episode. I have the Nostr ones up. We have Florida Justin with 22,222 sats, palindrome boost. 1 John chapter 2, verse 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, it cuts off. I don't have that one memorized. McCoy, 22,000 sats. Fees are the ultimate filter. We have Johnny Stimulus, 21,021 sats. Fuckbip 110. And then we have Roaming with 21,000 sats. Asteroid emoji, great rip.
I love the asteroid emoji.
Thank you guys for your support. Appreciate it.
We have nothing to report from Fountain last week. 2 weeks in a row. I guess these apps are eating the boost here.
I mean, I don't blame the freaks. It's more fun to zap on Nostr. So I get it. I appreciate the support. Thank you, freaks.
Thank you, freaks. All right, moving on. Switching gears. Glyphosate. About face from RFK here. You're pretty pissed off.
Glyphosate, right?
Glyphosate.
Roundup. It's Roundup, right? Is there any other company that makes it? It's Monsanto Roundup that is now owned by Bayer.
Yeah, I think there's probably multiple brands. Monsanto controls all of them. So this came out...
and they're now owned by Bayer, which is a German company.
Yeah. Basically, RFK is coming out like, hey, listen, I know these things are bad for you, but we need them for our agricultural sector.
Did you read this post? I mean, what a disappointment. It's really lame. And then he starts it off like it's all cope. And then at the end, he's like, we need this for national security. Our food supply would be screwed otherwise. And this comes on the heels of Trump's executive order, which basically was said that Roundup is a national security issue and that we should be producing it in country, and that production should have liability protection. It's a limited liability protection, but still the producers aren't able to be sued. I think specifically the factories aren't able to be sued, but you could still sue them for cancer stuff or something like that down the line. I think you can sue Bayer, but you can't sue the actual factory that's making it. Not a lawyer. That's my basic understanding. So then everyone was asking RFK for his opinion because he's supposed to make America healthy again, and these things seem horrible for people. And he released, you knew immediately by how long the post was that it was bullshit. I mean, there's so many words. Did you see how many words are in that post? It is insane. And just to give you an example of what he could have posted, one of the few politicians who seems to constantly be on the right side of history, Thomas Massey, had his own post. Can you pull up Thomas Massey's post? Which is just 2 sentences.
Some weed is sprayed.
Can you read this, Marty?
Just before harvest to help dry the crop, the weed killer is applied to wheat intended for human consumption. The EU banned this use. Some claim glyphosate is used for desiccation on only 3% of U.S. wheat crops. We should end this practice.
Super simple, straight to the point. If you want to use it to stop plants growing that you don't want to grow, okay. Maybe there's an argument for it, but don't spray it right before harvest to dry out the plants right before we eat it and consume it. Yeah. And it completely, his couple sentences there completely ends around the whole idea that it's about food production.
Yeah, 3%.
Yeah.
So, Matt, breaking news. I just got an update. My Coinbase withdrawal code is 783215. Please don't share this code with anyone. If you have not requested this, please call 888-621.
I assume you don't have a Coinbase account, right?
I haven't had a Coinbase account in 8 years.
Freaks, use Strike instead of Coinbase. I think people don't realize it's a fully functioning Bitcoin super app. The limits are incredibly high. You can borrow against your Bitcoin. You can buy, sell Bitcoin. They're about to release a line of credit. Self-custody is incredibly easy with it. They have full-blown Lightning support. So when you use KYC exchanges, obviously your ID is attached to your identity. But if you use Lightning, then you have a level of detachment from that connection and your actual future and past Bitcoin usage, which I think is incredibly important. I love using Strike. It's fucking awesome. It's the only app I use at this point. And if you're a new user, you can sign up by using code RHR.
Get $500 off trading fees. First $500 of trading fees covered by code RHR. I think we have to say this episode's sponsored by Strike. Um,
And we're the largest investor in Strike.
yes, that is true. Disclosure. That's it for the list. But I got a couple other Bitcoin things that I wanted to bring up. Oh my gosh! I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. He's really a happy kid. He never cries. I don't know what's going on with him. Yeah. Two Bitcoin updates this week at the maybe not the protocol level ones, the app layer. I'm not sure if you saw Robin Linus come out with the what was it, Beano hash, which is a new way to use Bitcoin script for BitVM specifically. Apparently creating covenant-like capabilities without a soft fork protocol upgrade. Theoretical right now. Can you guys hear this?
Yes. It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
I think
You're good.
he's got. I'm just gonna close that. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. Still early days, largely theoretical, but again, one thing I've been saying for many years, particularly as it pertains to people proposing soft forks, is like, hey, for covenants and things like that, it's like, let's explore the design landscape that we have at our fingertips right now. Robin Linus is pushing the edge there. And has found a way to do sort of narrow covenants, at least theoretically. I think they're going to test it out. And then another thing, I'm not sure if you saw this, but Chris Stewart flagged it on X yesterday. Whitebit, which I believe is a British exchange, just produced the first block on the Bitcoin network that is compatible with BIP 45, also known as the Great Consensus Cleanup. So block 937403 was the first Bitcoin block mine that signals BIP 54. And
You said 45, it's 54.
54. A little dyslexia there. Sorry, guys.
And you said Whitebit. Isn't it White Pool?
I think it was Whitebit.
I don't know. It's a pool I've never heard of.
White Pool was the miner. White Pool, yes. Yeah.
Had you ever heard of that pool?
I guess Whitebit.
You got it wrong.
Whitebit is an exchange, I guess, that runs a pool too. He tagged Whitebit later in that thread. Great consensus cleanup. What does that do? BIP 54.
I mean, I don't think that's getting consensus anytime soon.
I mean, it fixes
the time warp.
Fixes the time warp bug, right? There's some consensus bugs that need to be cleaned up.
And a bunch of other things. It's like a package. It's a package deal.
Yeah.
The other thing that's on the list that you skipped, cartel war in Mexico.
Oh,
if freaks have been paying attention. This is something I've had my eye on for a bit now. I really do think it's the perfect additional war for the military-industrial complex. They need a war that MAGA supports, and it lines up with the deportation agenda as well. So, I mean, because MAGA doesn't support Ukraine, doesn't support Israel, kind of like lukewarm on Iran. It's been more anti-war than usual lately, which is great to see. But I think this is one that a lot of MAGA people could get behind. And so some cartel leader that I never heard of got assassinated. But had you ever heard of him before?
I've heard of the Sinaloa cartel. I never heard of their patron saint.
But he got killed by Mexican special forces in partnership with the U.S. government. The U.S. government gave them a bunch of intel on his whereabouts, and then immediately following that, Mexico's always like one day away from turning into Afghanistan. It feels like, and the cartels are always they always shy away from the tourist hotspots because that's where a lot of the money comes in from. And they did not shy away from the tourist hotspots. Airports were closed. Costco's were getting burned. I mean, I saw a hilarious meme. It's like, now the Kirkland special forces are going in, and it was like CIA guys with Kirkland branding. But it's just something to keep an eye on. I posted the poly market of U.S. strikes on Mexican soil, which I think is a decent one to follow, because if there's any kind of real U.S. engagement, there probably will be at least a few airstrikes and drone strikes and whatnot. So it kind of covers that without having. The problem with poly market is you have a bunch of different technicalities where you can lose markets. And that one's a little bit more straightforward. It's like, okay, if there is any kind of extended engagement, there will probably be airstrikes. So the poly market right now is rating that at about, what did you just pulled it up, Logan? What did it say, like 26% or something?
6%. 27 by December 31st, 6% by March 31st.
Oh, no, but I'm talking, I like the December 31 one because, I mean, lower your time preference just a little tiny bit by the end of the year. But still, likelihood is that it doesn't happen, according to poly market, according to people betting on poly market and insiders betting on poly market. But it's something to keep an eye on. It's a perfect example, by the way, of the 4-hour news cycle, because for 24 hours is like the end of the world was happening in Mexico. And now by the time RHR happens, it's like, oh, do you remember that thing that happened 2 days ago or 3 days ago?
Yeah. God bless my wife, so innocent. Like 2 days after the cartel started like lighting cars on fire, she was like, I didn't know what was happening in Mexico. Did you see that? I was like, yeah, baby, don't worry, you missed it. Go back to bed.
I'll protect you. Everything's okay.
Breaking news, Logan, pull it up. Jack Dorsey just announced that Block is cutting 40% of their workforce.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's like 4,000 people.
Yeah. Going from around 10,000 to just under 6,000. Looks like people are getting very handsome, what do you call it?
Severance packages.
Severance packages. But I think the meat of the story is in the middle, where Jack explains that they're not making the decision because we're in trouble. Our business is strong. Gross profit continues to grow. We continue to serve more and more customers, and profitability is improving, but something has changed. We're already seeing that the intelligence tools we're creating and using, paired with smaller and flatter teams, are enabling a new way of working, which fundamentally changes what it means to build and run a company, and that's accelerating rapidly. I had two options: cut gradually over months or years as the shift plays out, or be honest about where we are and act on it now. I chose the latter. Repeated rounds of cuts are destructive to morale, to focus, and to the trust that customers and shareholders place in our ability to lead. I'd rather take a hard, clear action now and build for the position we believe in than manage a slow reduction of people toward the same outcome. A smaller company also gives us space to grow our business the right way on our own terms instead of constantly reacting to market pressure. So it looks like AI cutting jobs, example number one.
It's what we were just talking about. I mean, look, I think there's a combination play here, right? Because AI or not, it's absolutely wild that there was 10,000 people working at that company. I mean, there was reports that they had a company, the company All Hands, like they had to rent a basketball arena to fit all the people in. Like they were the salary burn rate there, the amount of people and overhead they were paying was way too high to begin with. And I think this makes a lot of sense regardless, but particularly in the world we're entering with AI. And it seems like the market agrees, because I just looked it up and it looks like it's up over 23% after hours, the stock. Now, after hours trading is a little bit more liquid, more liquid. So you see more significant moves. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out tomorrow when markets open. But I mean, that's a pretty big market signal that people agree with them on that move. And I would just say, candidly, behind the scenes, I've not talked to Block people about this, but I've talked to people about the situation that Block had found themselves in. And I personally thought they should, gut a lot of that employment. Like there was way too many people there.
I mean, I've talked to Miles about how they're using AI to build stuff, and it seems pretty crazy what they're able to do there.
Yeah, I know Jack has been way ahead of it. Like there was a directive early into there was a directive to people in the company that everyone needed to be using AI tools and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be more of this, guys. and your families are counting on you to not get caught flat-footed as it happens.
Yeah. Part of the severance package, $5,000 in Bitcoin. 7 million sats right now.
I mean, it's good that hopefully that's not the only severance. I assume he's giving.
No. 6 months of pay plus 1 week per year of tenure, equity vested through end of May.
That's pretty
6
good.
months of healthcare. Yeah.
I think
It's
we're
a
going
tough
to see more
decision.
of this.
That's a tough decision. I think I agree with just ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, look at what directionally, and this was pre-AI hype and stuff, like Elon coming into X and firing 90% of staff. Like that was more correct than not correct. I think there could actually probably be an argument that 40% probably isn't even enough, and he's going to have to go harder. And if you look at the trend, I think the announcement was 8 months ago, or a year ago or something, he fired like 10% of his staff. He brought it from like 11,000 to 10,000 people. And obviously that wasn't enough to really move the needle. So maybe there'll be another announcement. I think some of these companies these announcements will be over time as they realize they didn't cut hard enough. And I think it's probably just way cleaner from a corporate level and just like it's hard. Like if you're an employee and it's like sitting over your head and you don't know if you're going to get cut, it's really bad for employee morale, needless to say. So just ripping off the Band-Aid and just doing it, and then having everyone have a solid foundation to move forward and be like, I'm not going to lose my job in the next few years, I think is incredibly important. So I definitely lean closer to, if anything, overcut. You can always rehire.
Yeah. Brave new world. Brave new world. We said we're going to keep it a tight hour. Logan, where are we? Logan.
We're not at a 100-minute hour yet.
We're not at over.
Yeah, Logan.
We're not at the tight 100-minute hour yet.
Oh yeah.
We're only at an 80-minute hour.
Okay.
Logan, when I said we needed to keep it a tight hour because I'm still on this family trip, Logan said it every time we say that it's 100 minutes. So 80 minutes is a win. Let's wrap it here.
That's a good tight 80-minute hour right there. I like it. I think there was a lot of signal. You go enjoy time with your family. We will be back next week for episode 399.
Freaks, appreciate you all. Stay humble, stack sats.
Peace and love.